The important question is whether these techniques work. Well, as you heard in the earlier videos, the evidence is pretty convincing. For example, in 1985, Gieselman, Fisher, McKinnon and Holland published the results of a study they conducted comparing the effectiveness of the original cognitive interview with two other interview methods. These were a standard police interview and a hypnosis interview. In this study, 89 undergraduate student participants watched a violent crime film that was used to train officers from the Los Angeles Police Department. 48 hours later, they were interviewed face-to-face by law enforcement officers recruited from agencies in the United States. These officers used one of three interview techniques: a cognitive interview, hypnosis, or a standard interview. In the standard interview condition, witnesses were first asked to describe in their own words what they remembered. Interviewers were then told to use questioning procedures they would normally use, so they would ask specific questions based on the witness's account. In the hypnosis interview condition, participants were asked to describe the film in their own words. The interviewer then performed a hypnosis induction and then asked the witness to restate what they remembered from the film. This was followed by specific questions about the film based on the witness's report. In the cognitive interview condition, interviewers described the four cognitive interview components to each interviewee prior to the interview, and then placed a list of the techniques in full view of the witness during the interview as a reference guide. The format of the standard interview was then followed. Now, analysis of the number of correct items generated showed that both the cognitive interview and the hypnosis interviews elicited a greater number of correct bits of information than the control interview, but that recall between the cognitive interview and the hypnosis interview did not differ. The analysis of the number of incorrect items that people recalled and confabulated items did not differ by condition. Now, given legal concerns about the use of hypnosis interview, the authors concluded that the study provided good evidence of the usefulness of the cognitive interview technique for police officers and its superiority when compared with the standard interview procedure. And in fact, between 1984 and 1987, Gieselman and colleagues conducted several empirical research studies that led to the same conclusion. The cognitive interview produced superior outcomes when compared with the standard police interview. However, despite this, after developing the original cognitive interview, Fisher and colleagues in 1987 concluded that police officers conducting real-life interviews often neglected to use elements of interpersonal communication that were important. To address this, Fisher and Gieselman in 1992 layered in communication skills to the cognitive interview to create the enhanced cognitive interview. This resulted in an interview with 9 different phases, each seen as being important to the success of the technique. So, in an enhanced cognitive interview, the opening phase of the interview comprises the greet and rapport phase.